Democrats are hoping to overperform in November to pull the party out of the rut that it is in. But let's look closer at exactly how they got to where they are. How did they get to $2 million in debt as this massive political party in this country? Obviously, they took a major fundraising hit after losing to Trump in his third attempt at the White House. We know that. But perhaps what happened next is as much to blame. And that would be Trump's evisceration of USAID and the end of yet another pipeline of federal money that always seems to find its way back into the hands of the Democrat Party. Just like the green energy scam and all that money that they put into all those big bills they're so proud of, and they give it to all their buddies in California that own all those big companies, and then all that money gets filtered right back to Democrats so they can win elections. Just like that, federal aid, USAID, has long been a scheme by Democrats to shore up their own power. A reporter from the Daily Signal laid out how it all works while testifying in front of Congress last year. Take a listen.
I found that leftist elites prop up NGOs that staffed and advised the Biden administration, pushing unpopular policies on the American people through the bureaucracy. The left's dark money network features George Soros, the Tides Foundation, and the network of nonprofits established by Arabella Advisors. These groups, which you can see on this chart, funnel cash to DEI, transgender, and climate alarmist causes, divisive issues that the Biden administration prioritized over addressing the concrete needs of the American people. The left's dark money network has deep ties to USAID.
So you think about it, it's like, why do they care so much about climate change? Why do they talk about this all the time? Why is that such a big issue for them? Why do they care so much when we're $38 trillion in debt? Why do we care so much about sending all this money all over the world? Did you really think that the government was that virtuous? That they cared that much about saving the world? That they cared that much about climate, the planet? No. All of this is about them. It's all about their power. USAID was about them. USAID was about their power. That money has an agenda that is far beyond just feeding African kids. And since Trump entered the arena, the Democrat Party has become the de facto party of the establishment American government. And USAID money was manipulated to help Democrat causes here domestically because their top priority became taking the government back from Trump. Again, just like green energy, it was all about them, their control, their power. The government controlled by globalists, as we know it is, using your money to fund their own personal agenda. What you need, as he just said, was completely obsolete. They're thinking about what they want, what they need, and where they need to put money to make that happen. And that's why they freaked out so badly when USAID was gone.
This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
I'm sorry that you have to put up with this offensive bull coming out of this White House.
We are going to fight in every way we can.
This is a constitutional crisis.
We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected your ass.
It is time, as the African spiritual says, for us to lift every voice in condemnation.
You see that fury? Again, a country that's $38 trillion in debt. The moment we're not allowed to send billions of dollars all over the world, they lose their minds. Have you ever seen them that heated about any domestic issue, ever? They lost it over USAID. It made it possible for them, of course, to do so much. It made it possible for Democrats to push an agenda completely untethered from American voters. It created that wide gulf between what voters actually want and what they get when they vote in a lot of ways, both parties in this country, but certainly with the Democrat Party. Totally untethered from the American voter because their agenda was being pushed internationally in this very, very divisive way. And it's just one of the many vessels that's disappearing your hard-earned dollars into the abyss. All that money just gone somewhere else, coming back to them, again, just like Green, USAID, same thing. And amid endless stories of fraud and waste, we now learn that, of course, you just heard from her, Ilhan Omar's sister was also in on the USAID grift. Ilhan's sister, a Somalian refugee whose sister is a congresswoman, founding a group called GRIFT Partners Consulting, working with USAID and also the CDC, securing $20 million in federal funding because Ilhan Omar knows how to set her people up. She understands how it all works, and she just sets them up. She knew all those fraud guys in Minneapolis, all those restaurant owners that were stealing all that money. This is all just one big scam. You wonder what her sister did with all that cash. I'm sure she was really using it for the best interests of whatever world ill she was trying to cure. What did she do with all that cash? Third world Somalians are cleaning up in this country because of this. Just another part of this larger scam. Ilhan, their queen, has set them all up. Eric Eggers, Vice President of the Government Accountability Institute, back with us tonight. Tyler O'Neill, you just heard from him, Senior Investigative Reporter at the Daily Signal. Good to have you both here. Tyler, that was great from last year in front of Congress. You've investigated USAID. How much were those various programs, so many of which have been shut down, how much were they propping up the Democrat Party?
Well, so the way they propped up the Democratic Party was not usually direct. I think it's very important to say, as I did then, that we have this vast NGO apparatus, what I refer to as the woke-topus in my book with that title, that puts out these activist demands and infiltrated and brainwashed the federal government under President Biden. And I mean, their tentacles are still in the federal government as we speak. President Trump has done yeoman's work. He's been hacking off the tentacles one by one. And USAID was a very big one. It's one of the most obvious ones. And so you look at the way that USAID directed money to places like the Tides Center, the Tides Foundation, which is one of the biggest dark money behemoths on the left. You look at some of the NGOs that were connected to the artist formerly known as Arabella Advisors. These are groups like 1630 Fund that received money from overseas and directed it to our ballot initiatives in various states. Now we have states that are cutting off that funnel of money. But, the left's dark money apparatus is nothing to sniff at. And cutting off USAID is a very important step. I mean, the reason why it sent them all into hysterics was because it's the engine, it's the obvious, the most obvious one, the sacred cow. But as we're seeing in Minnesota, the grift is very strong with the so-called progressive movement. And the deeper you dig,
let me bring Eric. Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring Eric into this. I mean, you heard the soundbite there. It started with Ilhan. You had Cory Booker, everybody. The rage when you cut off USAID. And you're thinking to yourself, like, why do they care? That? I mean, it's like maybe they'd be disappointed we can't fund whatever education in Uganda or something like that. But why are they so angry, Eric? There's more to it than what they say.
Well, obviously, and I think you've done a great job of connecting some dots. What do USAID, the Minnesota Welfare Program, and the DNC have in common? All three entities that are now basically bankrupt or out of money or rife with fraud because they were run by Democrats. So why is Cory Booker screaming in unhinged rage at the elimination of fraudulent-based aid that's going to go to all kinds of things that no one in America supports? It's because, if you're a senator, what else is Cory Booker doing other than supporting programs like this that go to his constituents or other special interest groups? What is Ilhan Omar doing other than, as you noted, taking care of her Somali constituents? And you pointed out, and I think people forget this, she was even in a dang commercial for the restaurant that was at the center of the Feeding Our Future scandal. So, these Democrats, you cannot remove them from the fraud.
She knew all those guys, Eric. I've got literally 10 seconds, so, Eric, really quick, back to you. What are the chances that her sister's consulting firm was in any way legitimate?
I think you know the answer to that. What are the chances that she's involved in only government-backed programs? So I think you asked and answered, Rob.
Gotta leave it right there, just on time. Good to see you guys. Eric Eggers, Tyler O'Neill. The book, by the way, Woke-topus, like octopus with woke on the front. It's a great name for a book. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it.